Chad. How would you describe what you do and why do you do it?
I'm a mind-body specialist, and where I teach people how to connect their bodies with their mind. So in layman's term, it's really, how do I connect my body to know what it's trying to tell me? Like if I'm stressed, how do I react to stress? If I'm overwhelmed, what does my body show to me when I'm overwhelmed? And so uh, ultimately, it's really teach people ways of how they can connect with their bodies, so that way they can make better choices for them to live a more expansive and more wellness lifestyle. And so, and why do I do it? It's because I'm inspired to do it. I love to empower people so that way they can learn how to self-correct, become self-regulating, and make different choices that will benefit them. Or if they do make a choice, they can recognize my body is letting me know this is not the path I want to take. So let me redirect and let me go this route, which will serve me better. So, and ultimately, nothing is right or wrong, right? Whatever choice we make, it's a choice. It's usually what happens in the course of our experience, whether we name it as good or bad, a good or bad experience. So ultimately, we're just experiencing life. And I want people to recognize that, you know what, we're going to make choices that either bring us good experiences or not so good experiences. Ultimately, it becomes one's choice.
Absolutely, absolutely. And perhaps you could share a little bit about your practice and where you're located
Okay.
and types of clients you look after.
I graduated December 14th, 1998 at Life Chiropractic College West, which is in Northern California. I then left there, came back to Hawaii, Oahu, and had a birth. My daughter was born on February 16th, 1999. I took my licensing in Hawaii on March. April Fool's Day, I got a notice that first I didn't pass the test.
Hello, it's Brad Hook here, and I'm delighted to share my new book, Start with Values. It is a guide to help you discover what matters most and then bring those core values to life through tools such as micro habits. It helps you make clearer decisions through the decision making guide. It helps you to activate your values in conversations, particularly those courageous conversations where you need to assert yourself. And it helps you explore some potential shared values, such as nature stewardship, to help us all look after this planet that we call home. Inside, you'll find thought experiments, you'll find worksheets, you'll find action plans, and lots more. If you are interested in reducing your stress and building a life that's meaningful and purposeful, get your copy now. They're available on Amazon, both as a paperback book, such as this, and in Kindle format. So if you have some feedback, please log it in the reviews. I'd love to hear your experience of bringing your values to life. This approach has helped hundreds of thousands of people around the world, and it's now ready for you. Get your copy.
And so I thought it was a April Fool's joke, but ultimately they had done something with the test. So there was like maybe 20 of us that argued what had happened. And a week later, I got licensed in Hawaii. Fast forward, I opened my practice in the Valley of Manoa in October 1st, 1999. And I've been here ever since. 26 years later, I'm still in the same location, doing what I love to do.
Amazing.
Let's see, the clients I work on, I don't call them patients like most chiropractors or doctors. I call them members because one, they are members of my practice and they're practicing towards becoming well and actually gaining power of their own bodies. A little different terminology. I found that words are very powerful, right? It's like if we say, I don't like myself, we reinforce the fact that we don't like ourselves versus I like who I am. I love who I am. And at times, if we don't like ourselves, we can always say, okay, I may be unhappy with myself right now, but overall, I love who I am. I mean, it's amazing how our words and how we feel, how we think impacts not only our bodies, but our life as well. So the type of members I do service is from prenatal women that are pregnant, expecting. I work on their babies when they're first born, up until my oldest practice member right now is 94 years old. So I have a diverse range, but I would say most of my members they range between, I would say, the late 30s up to like maybe the mid 70s. So,
Got it.
Yeah.
Amazing. And for everyone who's listening, I have been there to visit Chad and had an incredible experience, which we might touch on later on. Before we go further, you talk a lot about the mind-body connection.
Yes.
For those who are not sure, I mean, most of us have heard that term, but what does it actually mean?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because it's actually very simply the mind and the body that are connected as one. And so there's a feedback. Our body gives us feedback messages, letting us know that something that doesn't feel right. And it can be as simple as you eat like something that's spoiled or tainted. All of a sudden, our body goes through a reaction and we get sick. We either throw up or we have diarrhea. So our body is very quick to let us know when something doesn't sit well with us chemically.
Hey, Brad here. Would you believe that around 70% of the people who watch this podcast have not yet subscribed? It would mean the world to us if you click that subscribe button on whichever platform you use so that we can stay connected with you and you'll receive notifications when we add new episodes. We really appreciate you coming and connecting with us and being part of our community. So all the best.
But same thing goes emotionally. Think about it. If someone says, "Oh, Chad, I want you to do this for me," and my heart's not into it, I say yes. Sometimes we get that little tightness in the pit of our stomach. It's like, ugh. It just lets us know, like, that's not what I really wanted to do, but I still said yes, right? So the mind-body connection is actually, I did some research and it goes way back into the BC area. So, and then there's the western side, eastern side, but on the western side, back in 400 BC, it was Socrates, a philosopher, that mentioned about how that if we only address what was mentally wrong or the physicality, then we're missing a whole part of health. And then Hippocrates, the father of medicine, in like I would say the early 400 BCs, he came to recognize that in order to get proper health, you had to have mental balance, physical, what you put into your bodies. So there was a lot more than just, oh, you have a symptom, let's take care of the symptom. And so over time, that has evolved into what's called, I guess you would say, fast forward to now, it's called PNI, psychoneuroimmunology, which is a very complex way of saying the mind-body connection. And it's the Western way of doing research to confirm that, yes, indeed, the mind, the mental state, and our body is fully connected. And so they've done tests to figure out how that's connected. And actually, it was not until the 70s where it really started taking root, but actually up until just even 30 years ago, in the 1990s, where the body-mind connection was more substantiated with science. And that's the Western side. Eastern side, I mean, the Japanese, the Chinese was way ahead of their time too. But their whole concept was that we are integrated, the mind and the body, what we put into our bodies. And so a lot of traditional Chinese medicine deals with not only the herbs, but also what is a person mentally, emotionally experiencing, along with the physical ailments to help them achieve great health. So I kind of expand on it, but mind-body connection, it's actually more simpler than we realize, but we just make it a lot more complicated.
It's fascinating that people have been contemplating this for thousands of years. And yet Western science, which is supposed to be like the gold standard for treatment, completely neglected that and just treated the symptoms and continues to do so until today. If you go to a GP, a general practitioner or a doctor, they're likely just to prescribe a pill for whatever the symptom is without even considering what's going on in your life.
The unfortunate part about it is it's based upon a model, right? It's actually, right now, healthcare is a business model, right? In order for someone to become a repeat customer, then they cannot necessarily heal a person completely because then they'll lose patients. And so this is something that has really driven me more than anything else, that especially when I got into the type of technique I do, network spinal analysis, it really freed me in regards of how can I teach my members to learn how to be more empowered, to listen to their bodies and have the ability to self-regulate themselves and allow their bodies to sometimes take control and lead the way. So the mindset that takes a backseat, let the body do what it needs to do and achieve greater health and greater wellness.
And it's so true. I had been kind of indoctrinated by that system for most of my life until I realized, hold on, if you create some space, I think I realized this myself at one point because I couldn't get a doctor's appointment for 2 weeks for something. And I was completely healed by the time I went to the doctor. I was perfect. And I was thinking, oh no, if only I was still unwell. If you just create the right conditions, what many people forget is the body has a fantastic way of regenerating and rejuvenating and healing.
So it's kind of neat, right? The gift that you experienced was that you couldn't be seen right away, which forced you to trust your body, heal yourself. And so when you got to the appointment, it's like, oh, actually, I'm okay, doc. I don't need to see you anymore. Right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
It really is. So how can connecting the body and mind assist one in navigating life?
Well, the thing that I always looked at our body is that it's actually our best friend, right? It's the best friend that we take for granted because when we're younger, we have lots of energy. Our minds are very strong. We override it. So a lot of times people, especially young adults, they will push themselves to the utmost nth degree, and they wonder why they crash. And so then the modern way is, oh, you drink more caffeine, you drink coffee, you drink Red Bull just to get the energy to get yourself going again. Meanwhile, you're just burning out your adrenals to one day you totally crash. And so the way I like to see it is that the body is our best friend and it tries to let us know, it nudges us. First, it gives us a sense that we feel some tightness or our breath isn't as full or our movement starts being affected. And so until we start paying attention to the body, then those signs get stronger. The tightness becomes more aches and the aches becomes chronic pain, or it can be a more digestive intestinal thing. It can be acid reflux. It can be stomach pains. It can be digestive issues until ultimately the most intense health crisis would be cancer. And it's amazing how I think it's been over 80 years that they've been trying to research cancer and they still haven't found a cure. And when in actuality, cancer is just the body's way to tell their mind to love themselves, to stop what they're doing, pause and reset and move forward in a new way. So, yeah,
And so many people get cancer and they hate themselves even more or blame themselves even more. And then they go on highly toxic medications because the
treatments.
reality is we've always got cancers inside of us, but our
Yeah.
immune system deals with it.
Yes. Our immune system is amazing because if you think about those different warehouse outlets that has all the uh, damaged products that aren't 100%, you can buy it for a lot cheaper. So what our body does is it's constantly breaking down these cancer cells. And the only time that the cancer cells is able to take root and thrive if our immune system gets so low that we don't have the energy to destroy the cancer cells. And then the cancer cells proliferate. And that's what they're designed to do.
I mean, I know people personally who opted not, and everyone do what's right for you, but I know
Mm-hmm.
people who opted to simply create space in their life, rejuvenate, recover, unravel bad habits, and doctors were perplexed at how they had somehow miraculously healed from
Yes.
really serious conditions. I
And
mean, I'm
I've
sure you've
met,
seen this as well.
yes, I've seen it in my practice. Actually, I've met people who've done it without even coming to see me. So, like I said, the power of the mind and body it doesn't have to have my assistance. However, what I do just helps people to get out of their mind's way, listen to their body, and be more connected. So make different choices. Yeah.
Yeah, you perform a really unique practice and it's something I'd never experienced before. Perhaps you could unpack network spinal analysis technique. What is it?
Network spinal analysis, it's gone through a lot of changes, modulations. However, it was founded back in 1987. So it's almost literally 40 years that's been evolving. And the founder was a chiropractor, Donald Epstein, a very gifted, amazing individual who has really brought this amazing gift to the planet. The the basis of network care is addressing the body where it's at. And the ultimate goal of network care was how could we just deliver a light, gentle contact of energy and let the body reorganize itself. And so it's how can we get a person be aware of the tension they store or how they're not fully breathing into our bodies. And once the body has the ability to breathe, a lot of magic happens. I mean, think about it. The first thing that we do when we first are born is take a breath, right? The alpha. And the last thing we do when we expire is our last breath. So there's something magical about the breath. And so that's the one thing that with network has taught me is how can you teach the body to breathe a lot deeper without having to consciously breathe? I mean, that's the one thing that has been a godsend in regards of the care I received and what I deliver to people, is how you can start breathing even in stress versus the mindset, I'm stressed, I need to breathe, I need to meditate, right? So it's almost like the body takes over and says, I got this. Okay, take the mind back. I got this. Let me breathe. Let me release tension. Let me bring up to your consciousness what is really bothering you. Is it distress in a situation? Is it relationship issues? Is it financial worries? Is it pressures that you're feeling that you don't have a chance to express yourself? And so really what this technique has been designed for is, how can we teach the body, the nervous system, strategies to find tension and to release it more organically, and to upgrade and up level it to a degree where it has a power to self-correct and gives the person the ability to make different choices. I mean, that's the best way I can describe it.
It's incredible. And it makes me think, once upon a time, I did some research into wild animals and why wild animals don't experience trauma. And often in the midst or immediately after a stressful event, they are breathing, they are stretching, they are shaking, and they're getting rid of all of the stress hormones, and they're back to present once again. Whereas we actually need to learn these. And I know even in resilience training, we teach people tactical calm. Okay, if you feel yourself heating up, take a long exhalation, calm yourself down. But you're saying, let's train the nervous system to be able to do that in real time without having to cognitively go, there's a post-it note, breathe.
Yes. But the power that you bring to the table too is, a lot of people aren't even mindful of how their breath is, right? So just
True.
you giving a tactical strategy to, like, when you feel your body heat up, stop and breathe. And so it's amazing when you think about what you teach is how you can use your mind cognitively to help build resilience.
Yes.
With network care, it helps you to use your body to help mental awareness.
The two.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I love
powerful.
that.
Yeah.
It is powerful. And how does the technique teach the body? And you don't have to go into I'm sure it's pretty complex, but it is a pretty amazing experience. And having been there myself, you kind of knew where the tension was without even me telling you what was wrong.
Yeah.
I have a sense that your version of it is quite special.
you know, honestly, because I call it practice, right? I've done this for 26 years, 27 years now. And after a while, like, just like you know resilience backwards and forwards. Like, you know how to explain your concepts in such a succinct, easy to do way. I've read your book and I've done your methods, and it made a profound experience even for me, even with all my mindfulness too. So, um, it's amazing how simple a hug is. Like, have you ever experienced that if you're not doing very well, a loved one will come and put their hand right on your back and say, "How are you doing, Brad?" And you don't know why, but it's like they put it right on the spot you want. You're like, "Oh, that feels so good," right? You just able to relax. Or seeing a good friend you haven't seen in ages, and you guys embrace and give a big hug, and you just feel like, I'm home. That's what the body does. The body actually gives me permission when I connect with it. This is where I want you to be. It actually shakes my hand energetically. It says, this is where I want you to be. This is how much force I want. And if you deliver this amount and I'm present, I'll do the rest. I mean, on the simplest terms, but ultimately I'm using gentle, light, energetic taps on a person's nervous system. And the body's, I guess you could say, its nervous system is always aware. So just a gentle touch can influence a profound change. A more analogy would be like a whisper, right? When you start whispering, people are like, what was that? Versus if you're yelled at, after a while, we tune it out. But the whisper is so powerful, just like the light, gentle tap. So,
What a great way to describe it. And are some bodies more resistant? It takes more time for them to become friends with you? Or do they usually, I don't know, are they usually ready after a certain amount of time?
Great question, Brian. I've seen all kinds of spines, all kinds of mental states. I had the most fun with people who are like very, skeptical. I've had one member over 20 years ago. He first comes to my office. I heard about you. He goes, but just mind you, two things. I'm skeptical and I'm cheap. I'm like, okay. So I worked on him the first week, tapped him and worked on him. At the end of each week, I said, so how's things going? He goes, just mind you, I'm still skeptical. I'm still cheap, but I'm going to try another week. So 2 years later, I asked him once again, just curious, you've been with me for 2 years. What do you think? He goes, you know what? I'm no longer skeptical, but I'm still cheap.
I love that.
But yeah, it's amazing. I've worked on people who have no clue what I'm doing, but just heard that what I do is do good work, and they have a profound experience. I have others who've done tons of mind, body, emotional release, have done different types of modalities, come in, and no, it's what I've learned is it all depends on the person, the timing. If a person's at the right time where they have enough tension in their lives where they're wanting a change or they're wanting to connect, those are the ones that will experience the greatest change. The ones that aren't too motivated in taking care of themselves, they'll have I've had a person, I tapped them and they took the biggest breath ever. And I thought, okay. I asked him, so how was that breath? He goes, the same. I'm like
Not ready.
not ready. So I've learned that instead of me trying to help every single person, sometimes a person not ready, it's like bring a horse to water. If they don't want to drink, they're not going to drink. So yeah,
absolutely. So how do we store these good and challenging experiences in our bodies?
Well, the thing that I've experienced over time is that any type of traumatic experiences, usually mental emotional experiences, we actually store it in our muscles. That's why sometimes you may go to a massage therapist, doesn't have to be a chiropractor. They massage you, and you might be right in that right moment where they release enough tension that a person starts crying, or emotion starts coming through. And so our body holds memories, good and bad. So my first 10 years of practice, I thought it was only bad memories. I thought it's only bad challenges that the body stores. But after my 10th year, I started seeing people who actually were storing good memories too. That was very tight. So let's say they had a very exciting experience that was the top of the world. Like let's say they got promoted to exactly what they wanted in their job. And that made so much to them that they held on to that energy. And so after that time experience, anytime they found something else that didn't quite match that feeling, then they felt let down. It's fascinating. So our body stores it in our muscles. And I found a way to measure how many years you've been storing those memories. And once you find those years, it can be extremely tight. It's almost like it protects it. So your muscles will literally feel like bars of steel, just trying to protect that energetic memory. And so that's why sometimes people may like massages, sometimes people won't, because sometimes if you start to disturb this tension, it may not want to let go. So with that light, gentle tap, it gives your body permission to, I feel safe enough to let go. And then the experience frees up and the energy gets released. So my biggest focus has always been, how can I teach a person's system to release the energy charge behind the experience? Because what happens is we had a bad experience, a trauma, a bad relationship, a loss or bankruptcy or something, our body holds that memory. And until we can clear out the energy behind that memory, it locks us back in the past, right? So if we can clear out the charge behind the experience, then all it was an experience. And we move on and we're more present in our life, present in our bodies. And that's why when people are super tight or the posture changes, it keeps them in that physiological state. Once the physiology lets go of the tension, it can change the structure, which then changes your experience, changes your present moment.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. I mean, I remember saying to you, Chad, I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of this wrinkle that's developed between my eyes. And you said, well, why is it there? And it's basically I'd held tension there, partly because my vision is not as good as it was. So squinting a little bit more.
Yes.
But secondarily, because of stress, whenever I'm stressed, I tend to hyperfocus and go into that zone. And then that thing, but I've been conscious about it ever since we spoke. And it's actually, I didn't need Botox. I didn't need to go for surgery. It's starting to, we'll see in a few months,
Release.
But it's interesting. And I'm not waking up with my face scrunched up, which was happening to me in times of high intensity, which is never a good thing. Waking up tense.
I hear you. So one thing you do, something I've learned that I help people who have a hard time sleeping or they have a lot on their plate, like as yourself, is that when you go to bed at night, it serves you to go through your day and think about, is there anything I've done today that I'm worried about for tomorrow, but I have no control over? right? If you go through your day about what's going to happen tomorrow, did I do everything in my power to address the things I need to take care of today? I have no control over. Like, let's say I'm waiting for a response from a client, or let's say I'm waiting a response from a venue, right? I've done everything possible. I have no control over the response, right? The moment you can let go of that, you'll be more at ease, more at peace. Yeah.
So really
Just,
looking at what happens over the course of the day and not carrying these things, but that's just being present and being aware of everything on. And then I guess fact checking. Do I really need to carry this with me overnight, or is it something I can let go of? It's just a more intentional, conscious way of living in
yeah.
many ways. And
And it just,
you're a calm person, ultimately.
yes, releasing it.
So someone comes to you and says, I've just got this recurring lower back pain, something that many people suffer from. It's not necessarily structural, right? A lot of the time.
It's kind of amazing. I've seen over the years, I've worked on, like, at this point, maybe like 9,000 spines, 9,000 people. And there's some credence to a physical trauma, getting hit by a car,
Totally.
falling 2 stories, landing, injuring it structurally. However, what I found is a lot of times, if a person does have back pain, it's not because of a structural event. A lot of times it's because of some other mental, emotional experience going on. And the low back tends to be about relationships. It tends to be relationships with yourself, relationships with others, relationships with money. It's amazing how the low back correlates with all these different elements of our life. And once we're able to address or become aware of it, we're able to potentially shift the pain that we're experiencing. I mean, sometimes I've worked on members that had a pain of 11. And as I'm talking to him, asking about what stress has gone on in their life, within 10, sometimes 15 minutes, that 11 comes down to like a 3, or sometimes even 0, once they identify what is actually really bothering them. I mean, that's, for me, it's always priceless. Seeing a person's eyes like, wait a minute, that pain is gone. Like, what did you do? And for them to actually recognize and become aware of what is actually bothering them, what is at the root of their pain.
It's incredible. And that's what I really appreciate about the session with you is we spent by far the most time just talking through things. And it was so powerful, just even because how many people stop and introspect or reflect on their lives and what went well and what went wrong. You know, we're so caught up on the hamster wheel of busyness that it actually requires stopping for a while and telling your story. And you're a great listener and you allow people just to unpack it in a very gentle way. And it's probably the first time for many people that they've even dedicated some time to thinking about what happened over the course of my life.
Of course, like, this is something I've learned over time. And believe it, the first 5 years of my practice, I was horrible at listening. It was all about, I want people to transform, I want them to grow, I want them to evolve. And so once I stopped and said, you know what, I need to ask this person, what's important for them? Like, what's really going on in their life? And the moment I stopped trying to project, step back and listen, that's when all the magic happens. And that's why I spend the time with the person, like with you. I was not going to cut short that time until you got to a sense of, wow, this is actually really bothering me more than I thought. This is something that's really at the core part of where I'm at that I feel stuck on. And once you become aware of it, then you have the tools. And the best part with you is that because of your training you've done, you're able to identify it quicker. I mean, for others, it may take longer, but that's something that's like kudos to you, which is kind of exciting, right? Think about it. You're teaching people mental strategies on how to deal with the stress in their life, to become more resilient, to turn a bad situation into a good situation. And because of that mindset of yours, you're able to, you hurt yourself and say, oh, if I just do this, I can find more ease in my life. And so that's the gift that, like I said, we both kind of give to humanity. So it's a good
Yeah, and
trait.
taking it on board. I mean, you can always give yourself the gift of this type of experience, but it's the integration and taking action that matters most. Because if you don't then make some changes, you're you're going to stay in that stressed state, which is the default for many people. The tension will
Yes.
remain. So you actually need to then go forth into your life and say the things that need to be said and do the things that need to be done and make those changes, even if it's difficult.
And sometimes people will avoid it too. And that's the interesting part with life, right? We all have the choice, right? If things gets a little more, if we're not ready to make the change, the one thing I learned in life is you cannot force change. change happens spontaneously. So you can't build up to the degree of the moment things changes, it's because you built up to that tipping point, tips, and change occurs. Like you can't force change. That's why a
That's
person
a
has to
good
be ready.
insight.
Yeah,
So,
fascinating.
can you talk about the importance of increasing one's awareness and endeavoring to understand what the body is trying to communicate to you?
Well, that's why for me the whole cornerstone is awareness, right? If we're not even aware of my breath isn't full, or I have some tightness in my shoulder, or when I meet this person, I tense up versus feeling relaxed, right? The more that we can dial into those cues, it allows us to make quicker choices, right? It's almost like it's something I had to learn how to do because I call myself a reformed people pleaser, a continued, reforming people pleaser. And so over time, I've learned to draw my boundaries stronger, say no more often. But it's fascinating that once you have more awareness of what you really want, and this is where it comes back down to you. Like if you spend the time to ask yourself, what do I want? And when I first started asking myself that question almost 14 years ago, I got no answer because I was so used to doing what other people wanted. And so it's fascinating. The moment I first asked myself that question, I didn't know what I wanted because I had gotten imprinted so much that I didn't even know what I wanted. I mean, ultimately, the one thing that we do want is we want harmony and ease. That's what we want. We want a state where I just feel at ease in my body, in my life. That's what we want, right? And so it's interesting how people may say, I want tons of money in the world. But you know what? There comes a cost to it because if you have so much money at a certain point, you start worrying about, okay, I need to protect my money. I don't want to lose my money, right?
For sure.
Are people going to like me for my money or like me for me? And the exact opposite. If you have not enough money, then you're like, oh my God, where's my next meal going to come from? Where am I going to pay my rent? So it's ultimately we want to be more at ease. And that's what awareness does. Awareness gives us the opportunity to say, huh, this right now doesn't work for me. This is challenging me. It's not serving me in the way I want to be served. Or recognizing that our old patterns are pushing us to do things, making decisions that causes more pain, right? So awareness is very important in how we want to navigate our lives. So that's what my whole goal is. You know what? I figured I can't fix people. I can't change people. I can only help people heal that want to become aware of what they're doing in their life to heal, to become more whole. I mean, actually, to heal, the basis of healing is actually wholeness. How to become more whole?
I didn't actually know that connection there. That makes so much sense. Yeah. Healing is restoring wholeness. That's fantastic. Any tips for increasing awareness? I mean, some would say go straight to meditation or spend time in nature. For some people, meditation is torture. What would
Yeah.
you recommend?
I mean, there's so many ways to become aware, right? I mean, what I found with meditation is that until it becomes within your own internal, it becomes so vital for you, then a person won't meditate. And it's hard to meditate because there's different forms. There's so many forms of meditating that you have to find one that works best for you, right? Some people try to push thoughts out of their mind. They try to be quiet, have a quiet room. They try to have incense, a nice gentle music playing. But ultimately, all meditation is taking the time to focus and be present with yourself right here, right now. I mean, ultimately that is. You can even monitor your thoughts. Like, oh, wow, I'm thinking about dinner tonight. I'm thinking about my yoga class. I'm thinking about my sore finger right now. But just be present, like, wow, where am I at right now? That's part of the power. Anything that a person enjoys, it can be taking a run. But when they're running, for them to monitor, what am I thinking about when I'm running? Like, what's going on? Am I
Hmm.
checking out or am I feeling my breath? Am I being present with what thoughts flow through my mind? Right? Some people will love surfing. Surfing, they get into this groove where they're almost one with themselves, one with the ocean, one's with the wave, and that's powerful too. So a person can do knitting, crocheting, and that can be bringing awareness. But it's about the one step that we do to get awareness is to ask ourselves, what am I feeling right now? What am I thinking about at this moment? And it can be very simple. I mean, people can choose to build that strategy up. I always recommend the two things you can do when you first wake up in the morning. Take a minute to 5 minutes just to do a quick few deep breaths in and take a little self-assessment of how does your body feel? Am I tense? Am I tight? Am I relaxed? How does my body feel when I first wake up and just before I go to bed? How does my body feel? Am I tight in my shoulders? Am my jaws tight? And then at that point, you start basically creating this relationship with your body to say, okay, I'm paying attention to you. And so over time, you start doing it more in your day. It starts with just a morning and night, minute to 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And over time, you start building that into your practice. That's a quick, easy way to start gaining awareness.
Morning by design rather than a morning by default, which is often inviting those virtual lions and tigers into the room, not just into the room, but into your bed.
Yes.
Via the little screen that's always at arm's reach, and then scrolling. And I'm always blown away when I run workshops and I ask, how many people check emails first thing in the morning when they just open their eyes? And it's 3/4 of the room.
Not surprised.
Straight into it. And the day hasn't even begun. And you're tense. You haven't even brushed your teeth yet. And you're already reinforcing those old habits. Unravel it. That's a great place to start.
That's a perfect recommendation. I mean, people don't realize that our behavior pattern is based upon our past experiences versus taking the time when you first wake up. Don't look at your phone right away. Just take the time to breathe, self-assessment, brush your teeth, get yourself in order, and then check your emails, right? I mean, how much time does that take? Not much, right?
Much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got life changes, but at the moment I've got this little routine, which is so cool. My daughter comes in, she waits because she's like, I know Daddy doesn't like to wake up too early, so she waits in bed and she reads a little bit, and she comes through at around 6:30 and just like jumps in, and we just have a little chat about what you dreamed about and what I dreamed about. And, it is amazing. And I know it's probably not going to last much longer, but well, who knows? It's one of those things that you just really experience gratitude for in the moment. It's like, this is so much fun. And yeah,
That's
maybe have to have
priceless.
another child.
That's one solution.
Probably not, but that is one solution. So Chad, tell us about your books. What inspired you to write, well, the two amazing books that I've got here, Infinite Body Wisdom and Infinite Body Awareness?
Well, Infinite Body Wisdom was inspired primarily by my practice members. They kept on asking me, Chad, I want to know what you do. Like, what are you doing? And so I spent some time really sitting with that. It took me a while, but when more members asked me, I want to know what you do. Like, I want to understand, like, how did you figure this out? Like, what do you do? So I said, okay. And so believe it or not, the first part of my book I did it within like 2 hours. I wrote it all down. I had this brain stream, and I just wanted to give a basis of where my origins were, how I got through my being raised up. My mom was very holistic, led me in a very healing, different way. My experiences in college and how I eventually got to understand about chiropractic college and the mind-body connection. And then the second half was all about case studies. Members over the years where I started asking questions, and people had shoulder pains. I asked them what's going on. And from there, finding the link between the shoulder being responsive as a big shoulder or connecting with others that's challenging or situation that's challenging. And so I used it as an example of how this mind-body connection can be so powerful just by recognizing what it is that's at the core essence of the problem. So that was the first book. Second book, Infinite Body Awareness, came around because my members were saying, Chad, I kind of understand what you're doing. However, do you have like a cheat sheet to figure out if I have back pain or neck pain, what I can do to get better? And so I created the second book based upon all the different symptoms I've experienced in my office. And I chose to give the Western treatments of it. And then I gave the mind-body correlations that may cause, let's say, diabetes or high blood pressure or stroke or cancer. And also then give doable action steps they can do to address those health conditions. And because of that, it inspired me to create an app. So I actually have the same app, Infinite Body Awareness, on Google Play and also on Apple Store. You can get my Infinite Body Awareness app at their fingertips. If I have neck pain, if I have a headache, you can get a sense of what's actually going on. Ask yourself the right question, and you can get the solution. Right now, I'm actually currently trying to figure out a way I've been kind of prompted to create a Chadbot, use AI, which people can ask questions and it can, Dr. Chad, I have a headache. What could that be? And my chatbot would say, so what are you overthinking about? What's going on in your life that is causing some mental anguish that's causing you to have mental constipation, causing a headache? So I have 2 more books that I know that's still in the etheric space that needs to be brought into consciousness. I had planned it a while back. It's called WAIT, WAIT, Wisdom, Awareness, integration and transcendence. Hopefully in the next 2-3 years, I'll be able to get the last 2 books out, which will give more more encouragement how people can even take more mastery and how they can use the mind body connection to heal their lives. So,
I
a lot
love
of fun.
it. And where do you see yourself in the future? Do you see yourself, because some doctors would be terrified of doing what you're doing. If I heal all of my patients, there's going to be no one to look after. But that's totally the opposite of what you're doing. You're like, here's how to look after yourselves, because you know that there are always going to be people who need you. But do you see yourself speaking, events, traveling? What's the vision?
I've done speaking engagements before. I've done workshops, so I do teach what I do. My current goal, hopefully by end of this year, I'll have like a meeting place, a hub where
Yeah.
members, people can have subscription where they can actually get me in real time on certain days. But I'll have a lot of my resources on this hub where if you don't live in Hawaii, you have access to this hub. So my main goal is to build like a more bigger social community. It would be nice. I would love to travel and one day come to Australia, and to visit, or New Zealand. And believe it or not, I am licensed in New Zealand. I
There
got
you go.
licensed in New Zealand before I graduated from chiropractic college. My good friend is from New Zealand, and I sat the board so I can actually practice in New Zealand. However, I've ended up in Hawaii. So yeah, ultimately, like you said, my plan is how can I empower people to step into their power, to not trust what their medical doctors are telling them, but for them to trust their doctor inside of them. I mean, if we do that, we'll have a more amazing, powerful world where people can take care of themselves, not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. How can we connect in all 4 planes and live a more amazing life of wellness? So, but yeah, I guess you say, probably do a little bit more workshops, but really try to expand outside of just being able to physically get adjusted, even though I must say getting adjusted, hands down, out of all the things I've experienced in my life, still getting a network adjustment, still, it just teaches you to breathe, helps you to get connected, and it's just someone holding a space for you. I mean, ultimately, when your body learns these strategies, at a certain point, your body can actually self-correct. And so sometimes if I don't have, because I don't have a practitioner here on Oahu to work on me, actually one just moved here, but she lives on the North Shore now, so it's like a nice hour-and-a-half drive away.
Yeah.
But ultimately, your body can actually learn to release tension just by breathing, just by being present with yourself. Your body can actually self-correct and heal. So that's kind of like the goal for my members.
Well, it really was the case when we were together, and I took a breath at one point at the beginning, and then after some adjustments, it was completely different. The quality of the breath, the capacity had
Yes.
increased. And I think well, no, I don't think, I know it has
Feel it.
been maintained, because I naturally now, and this is what you were talking about before, I naturally now find myself breathing deeply in the midst of different situations, and
Yes.
then recognizing it mentally and go, oh, look at that. It's something I've not done. It's always been the other way around. So all kudos to you.
No, that's the amazing part that you've done too, because otherwise you wouldn't have that awareness, right? A lot of people, like until I got adjusted the first time, I didn't know how much I was not breathing, right? We think we're breathing fine, but until someone actually taps you, your breath becomes ginormous. It's like, wow, like I didn't realize how much I wasn't accessing within my being, just not being able to breathe, not being able to connect. Like I said, it's been 26 years I've been in practice, and it's been inspiring. And so people ask me, so how long you plan to do this? I'm like, as long as I'm still inspired. And so
Yes.
my measure is that if I ever wake up in the morning and like, I got to go to my office today, then I know, oh, time to pivot, time to change. But until that day
Mm-hmm.
comes, I'll still wake up every morning happy to come to my office and helping people to breathe, connect with their bodies, and be more present in their lives. So that's my goal.
Chad, how can people connect with you, follow your work, get your books?
They can. I know you're going to provide some links, but definitely they can. They can sign up to my website www.drchadsato.com. I do 2 like free Zoom meetings every other Friday. I guess in New Zealand it'll be Saturday, but I do around like an hour work where I have members come or non-members come, and I ask them questions, prompts to. I have like maybe a little, I guess, a topic. Like one I had was body love. Like how do you show love to your body, or what have you done in your life which you've abused your body and has brought you back to recognizing I need to love my body more. So it's been nice to kind of create an open forum, and that's kind of what's pushed me to create this hub, because it's very inspiring to hear other people, other members share what they do in their lives. And I goes, oh, I do the same thing, or I have done that before. It's so empowering versus me saying, oh, do this, do this, do this. But when other people are sharing what they're doing, it makes it more full. So yes.
I love that. I love that. Well, definitely everyone check out the links. Check out that app as well. That sounds fantastic. I'm going to download that and get in touch. Chad, any final thoughts before we sign off?
Let's see. Honestly, we have a choice to be present every moment. I mean, of course, a very trite word is like, your present is a gift, right? So being present in your life is a gift that you give to yourself and to others. But the one thing that I found is continue to grow, continue to evolve. As you allow yourself the permission to expand and grow into this new space, you ultimately come back to yourself. I mean, that's what life is worth, is to live. And if we choose to live a life based in fear, we choose to live a life based upon old conditioned patterns versus what do I want in this little world, then we're leaving half of, or a fraction of what we could do. So I guess the last words would be just breathe and step into your life and embrace the fullness of it.
Chad, thank you so much.
Thank you,
It's been
Brad.
a pleasure.
Same here.
Thank you all. We'll see you in the next episode.
Yes. Aloha.